Giano, can you go ahead and record? Thank you. Good afternoon. Welcome to the January 18th, 2026 edition of O-Scale Central Online. I am David Vaughn. For our new viewers and for those who access us later through YouTube, let me introduce our program. It's about O-Scale 2-rail. It's a model railroad scale of 1/4 inch to the foot, 1:48 proportions. It runs on 2-rail track, just like prototype trains. O-Scale 2-rail is almost 8 times the mass of HO. The scale has detail you can see, mass you can feel, and satisfying models you can build. Although nominally the same scale as Lionel, O-Scale 2-rail trains are built to prototype proportions, operate in a prototype manner, and use 2-rail track. O-Scale Central, which sponsors this program, is a nonprofit 501c3 tax-exempt membership corporation whose mission it is to promote 2-rail O-Scale and support modelers in the scale. We are National Model Railroad Association Special Interest Group, or SIG, for O-Scale. O-Scale Central has an information-filled website at oscalecentral.com. If you're new to the scale or just O-Scale curious, check out the website. There are introductory materials to give you an overview of the scale and help you connect with resources to it. We publish a quarterly journal and a monthly newsletter filled with interesting features about OS2R products, modelers, layouts, clinics, and news. We maintain an active outreach program to train shows, RPM meets, and MRA conventions. We also sponsor this monthly online program using the Zoom platform. We bring in top manufacturers, importers, and newsmakers in the scale, present layout tours of quality OS2R layouts, short clinics, and news you can use. As indicated, if you miss any program or know someone who should see it, the program is recorded and will be available on YouTube, accessible either through our YouTube channel or through the O-Scale Central website. Again, that's oscalecentral.com. We provide this program as well as our website as a service to the scale. You need not be a member to use the website or to view this program. We think keeping the OS2R community informed, educated, and cohesive is important. That said, we hope you'll see the benefit of what we do, enjoy the program, and join O-Scale Central. Go to the website, find the membership section, and follow the prompts. Your dues, which are a steal at $24 a year for the basic membership, make this program and our other activities possible. If you're presently a member, thank you for your support, and please recognize that it's renewal time, so we hope that you will re-up on your membership. Thank you. We generally start these programs with news and announcements of interest to O-Scale modelers. I want to highlight 3 events that are coming up. First, the O-Scale South Show, and those of you who were on last week's program will remember that Dan Mason, the president of the Atlanta Club, was on the program and talked about the club, its new building, its new layout, and a bit about the upcoming show. It'll be held in Roswell, Georgia on Saturday, February 21st. Atlanta has an active and welcoming O-Scale 2-rail community, a state-of-the-art building, and a state-of-the-art layout under construction. O-Scale South is sponsored by the Atlanta O-Scale Club. It's well run. It's got tables full of interesting trains. You can get information from Dan at railroadmodelclubofatlanta.com, or you can go on the website and pull it from the calendar of coming events. The O-Scale West Show will be held at Mountain View, California on March 6 and 7. Rod Miller and his crew have been working to re-elevate O-Scale West to its position as the premier OS2R show on the West Coast. There is a new location, a new time, and a new format. Check it out at oscalewest.com. again, you can go to the coming events calendar. And finally, the Chicago March meet will take place March 19th through 22nd, with the trading hall opened on the 21st and the 22nd at the West End, Lombard, Illinois. Great show, 350 tables, full clinic schedule, operating session, large modular layout. This is the granddaddy of O-scale two-rail shows. It is well worth the trip. If you haven't been, or if you're interested in coming back, by all means do it. It's very well run. You can check it out at marchmeet.net or on their Facebook page for March O-scale Meet. I want to spend just a few minutes before we get into our program today talking about O-scale Central online programs. It was pointed out to me recently that O-scale Central Online has had 39 programs. Since we started, 38 of them are available on YouTube. One of us, me, forgot to press the record button on one of them, so we're short one. That's my own technological limits. But that's over 3 years of program at one a month, and we're still going strong. We've had some great interviews, like sessions with the late ON30 genius Al Judy, Overland Models founder Tom Marsh, Sunset's previous owner Scott Mann. We've had fantastic layout PowerPoint presentations like Tom Hoback's Santa Fe, John Sethian's Pennsy Northeast Corridor, Andrew Dodge's New England Narrow Gauge, and Tony Custer's Wabash Branch Line. We use the programs to inspire, inform, and teach, and hopefully to make you feel a part of the O-scale two-rail community. And while our live audience has generally been moving higher, subject to NFL playoff games like today, our YouTube encore views have been a pleasant and ongoing surprise. As many as 20 times the number of YouTube viewers as the live audience leaves us with a reach that far exceeds what we do on the actual individual program days. We need your feedback to shape and improve these shows. If you have program segments you'd like to see, or presenters that you would recommend, please let me know. You can email me at the address provided in the Contact Us section of oscalecentral.com, or you can contact me directly. My email is nkp, like nickel plate, os2r at gmail.com, nkpos2r at gmail.com. We also need some more focused help. With the 38 programs available, we need to be able to provide people with an index of features from past shows and keep that index up to date. As we say in the military, we're looking for help to work on this index. Don't be the guy who's still standing there after everybody else takes a step back, but we do hope to have a more positive response. So if you'd like to participate more in O-scale Central Online, by all means, make recommendations, make suggestions, give us feedback, and help us with the program of preparing an all-time index. We are also looking to assemble a set of highlight reels, if you would be, that we can use at train shows, all-scale train shows, to show off what we can do. That's going to take us some editing. It's going to take some people who have some idea what they're doing with online programming and with video editing. but we need your help, and so we hope you'll reach out and work with us. All right, let's turn to today's program. First of all, the features advertised in the announcement begin with an interview and show with Jay Escambia, who is the new head of Sunset Models, succeeding Scott Mann, and Beth Marshall of the public delivery track. Beth is here and ready to go. I think she will have a lot to share with us, not only about how public delivery track works, but some larger information about what's going on in the hobby in terms of production and marketing and so on. We'll let her figure out exactly how far to go presenting that. Jay Escambia is unfortunately at this point flying back over the Pacific Ocean to Denver from Tokyo. His flight having been delayed. I got an email at 4 a.m. My time saying that he was going to have to whiff on his appearance. He has begged a rain check, and we will look forward to seeing him on a future program. For those of you who were on last month's program, he had a emergency come up and was not able to make his scheduled appearance then. So far 0 for 2, but we live in hope that he will be back. And while I will wait to have him come and do a firsthand description of where he sees Sunset going, I do want to, he will also presumably provide us with details of the various things he learned during his first and rather long Asian trip. But I do want to flag for you the still newish Sunset catalog, which describes just an incredible menu of coming Sunset projects. And if you have missed it, I'm going to give you just a very brief summary, after which we will turn to Beth to describe public delivery track. So after Beth has finished her presentation, there is a very new and very nice, informative video, 12 minutes long, by a fellow named Ryan Shawyer. Ryan is an active O-scale two-rail modeler and has done a very nice 12-minute video on the myths of O-scale and how to counter them. It's well done and will provide you with very useful information to counter your O-scale skeptics among your HO scale modelers and three-rail guys and so on. So we're looking forward to that. Okay, let me just, and this is going to be just a real quick run through on what the new Sunset is up to. First of all, go to the website and download the 46-page catalog. It includes a list of upcoming projects as well as something about the philosophy that Sunset is bringing. But just to give you a tentative production schedule, you are going to see runs or reruns of EMD FTs in AB format. He's going to do the Amtrak Next Gen Acela, which is going to be fantastic. He's going to be doing a series of Alco road switchers, the RS1, the RS3, and the RSD4-5. He's doing EMD FP45s. He's doing SDF 40-2s. He's doing the General Electric Pooches, the P30CHs. He's doing the SPD 40Fs. I told you about the FPs. He'll be doing Jeep 30s, FM Erie belts, EMD F7s, General Electric B23s, 30s, 36s, SD70 Aces, an EMD FL9, a Virginian Electric, the EL3A, and in addition to the diesels, he will be doing a series of steam locomotives, beginning with a highly detailed Allegheny, C&O Allegheny, Virginian Allegheny, a Florida East Coast and Atlantic Coastline 462 Pacific, which is a real sweet, pretty little engine. He's having a couple of British steam locomotives done, a C&O Class J 482, Denver and Rio Grande M75 482, Norfolk and Western 482 Mountains, 482 in several different formats, a Southern Pacific GS4 in American Freedom Train paint, in the daylight paint, and where else? Norfolk and Western 480s, a Timken Northern Pacific 4 Aces, and that is just the start of what he proposes to do. He will be doing, in addition, a number of a number of passenger car runs, including the Frisco 1522 excursion, Central of Georgia Man o' War National Nancy Hanks, the Siemens Mobility Venture cars, like the ones they use on Brightline, Amtrak transition cars, heritage lounges, multi-level commuter cars, some British stuff, and numerous Amtrak models. And that is not even all of it. There are going to be a number of new runs and reruns on passenger cars. This is, Scottman has always been diligent in his model choices and cautious about his production runs. This really pulls out all the stops. And I really recommend, if you are at all interested, go ahead and go to thirdandtownsendmodels.com and click on catalog. He has a way that you can subscribe to the catalog, which will include the next editions and a chance for a drawing for some models. But I look forward to asking Jay about what he learned, about what the strategy is behind the large number of models that he has committed to. And I think the entire O-scale two-rail community is going to be looking to Sunset. If Sunset can pull this off, it will be a great step forward for the scale. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't want to spend any more time on it, but I do want to make sure that nobody misses it. This is a big deal. We look forward to having Jay on at some point to explain sort of how he got here and where he's going. But it is a real vote of confidence in the scale.
Okay.
So, yes.
it's for me to interrupt before everybody leaves here. I am interested in considering building a Santa Fe 2662 articulated boiler engine. And if anybody has any information or photographs of the locomotives, I would appreciate it to send to me. My email address is orocity@hotmail.com. Thank
All
you.
right. You want to give us that email again, Andrew?
orocity@hotmail.com. And I said
All
it's
right.
the Santa Fe 2662's articulated boiler engines. I know there are a couple different types of them, but I'd like any kind of photographs you could get or information. I have the Baldwin specification sheets and from the university, but that's not very much information I need. Thank you.
All right. Okay, we're going to turn to Beth Marshall. Beth operates Public Delivery Track, uh, and she's going to explain what Public Delivery Track is and how it works and how you can make Public Delivery Track work for you in terms of advance orders, in terms of special runs, and so on. Beth has been around an extended period of time in
Much
the
too long.
industry. Yeah, well, no, I wouldn't say that. Anyway, she has all kinds of stories about all kinds of subjects, some of which include model trains. And I'm going to let her give sort of a background and introduction. But I will say that Beth has basically said, I want to talk about what the people on the program want to talk about. So she is going to be soliciting questions, and I will have some that I will salt her responses about, but mostly we're going to be depending on the questions that show up from the audience. So Beth Marshall, take it away.
Thank you all for having me here. I'm guessing most of you have heard of the Public Delivery Track. If you haven't, you'll hear about it today. We've been around since 1992, so that's pretty close to 33 years. I started out with even before that, before we had a name, with my dad, doing Lionel train parts, and we did that for a number of years. And I don't know, somehow it morphed into me getting a relationship with Weaver Models, with Joe Hader at Weaver Models, and that's how it started, was with just selling Weaver. From there, we went on to get agreements with Atlas, with MTH, with Lionel, with Scott Mann at Sunset/Golden Gate. So we've been handling all of that stuff for quite a while now. We're not a huge player. We're not like some of the big Charlie Rowe, Train World, some of those people who they don't handle much two rail at all anyway. But our sales are in the neighborhood of $400,000 to $500,000 a year, compared to the big boys who sell in the $4 to $5 million a year in sales. So it's not that big an operation. It's never been a full-time gig. The rest of my life I was a weather forecaster. I was an airline pilot. I've been an actor in Hollywood. What else have I done? I've been a small business owner, obviously, and I've been a mom. So it's pretty well-rounded. The fact that I'm still going is pretty amazing in itself. The Public Delivery Track, we cater to real trains, not to the fantasy stuff. I say, wait, we don't have Halloween stuff. We don't have, Harry Potter, all that kind of nonsense. And so we've kind of gravitated toward two rail. We have a two rail layout, which hasn't run in who knows how long, but there's a two rail shelf layout that back when we were doing train shows, in the train show days, we would cart that around to train shows because it was just fun to have. We did train shows from the 1990s up through about 2015. In 2015, we just got to the point where we probably more than anything else, we realized we could make as much money staying home and selling over the internet as we could doing all that traveling. And if you've never done a train show yourself on a large scale, and our displays were large. If you had ever seen it, it's something like a Greenberg show. We had 13 tables, so that's 13 times 8, whatever that comes to, how many feet long of trains we had laid out. In York, our display was 20 feet by 80 feet. It took us a day to set it up and a day to tear it down. It was just a lot of work, and doing a train show involved 1 to 2 weeks of prep beforehand, and then a week of work afterwards. So it took up about 3 weeks of time just to do a train show the way we did them. So it just got to be a lot of work. Like everyone else, we're not getting any younger. So in 2015, we said, let's just go with the internet, and that's what we've been doing. We still have people who knew us from the train show days saying, when did you stop doing train shows? It's just like, it's been 11 years now. But anyway, we're hanging in. As far as two rails concerned, there's times when I thought about, let's just handle two rail only. Only because it just narrowed our focus and narrowed our scope. It never really worked out that way, but we do have a lot of two rail here. MTH at one time, every time they had extra two rail around, would come to us and say, hey, do you want this? So we don't have a lot of MTH two rail around, but I'm thinking of what's down there. There's probably about 40 or 50 engines still left that we have in various degrees in MTH two rail. It's a shame that they didn't do more of what they did in two rail. We wanted to see like a two rail GE 44 tonner, and they were thinking about it, but it never got done. Currently, MTH has no intentions of going back to doing two rail again. We were getting them to do two rail freight cars, and the latest time around they said, no, we don't want to do two rail freight cars anymore. We'll do the two rail trucks for you, but everybody can figure out what they want to do on their own. So that's kind of where things are as far as MTH is concerned. But I can talk more about that later. We're trying to work out things so that make it easier for two railers rather than, it gets expensive if you buy a train car and then you have to buy a pair of trucks for it. And even if you don't even mind doing all the work, it still gets very expensive. And that's something we're trying not to do, is to go to the super high end scale. Weaver went out of business in 2015. We bought up a lot of their inventory at the time. They kind of came to us and said, do you want all this stuff? And we bought as much as we could afford and that we had space for. David mentioned the H30 hopper cars. We bought all the H30 hopper cars. So all the H30 hopper cars that were left over that Weaver had when they went out of business, we have them here. Not every live route they made, but we still have a lot of them, and they're all up for sale on our website. So I kind of like Weaver cars, and some of them are better than others, which gets into a whole nother subject. When it comes to some things are better than others. This is something I've been trying to emphasize with a lot of people, is you just can't go by brand name. You can't go by, marketing. Nothing makes any sense. Marketing is all over the place. Just because something says it's master line doesn't mean it's a great car. Just because it says Atlas Trainman doesn't mean it has no detail. MTH in general, their tooling took a huge leap around 2005. So any new tooling that was after 2005 at MTH is far better than the tooling of a car that was made before 2005. And then around 2011, 2012, it took another jump. Certain things which I wish I could get more of is they did a Penske H10 consolidation that was just gorgeous. And I think they did it in two rail also. It was just freaking gorgeous. The detail was amazing. And some people realized this, and some people saw it and said, this is incredible, for an engine at the time that probably sold for $600 or $700. But a lot of people never paid any attention. They just said, oh, it's MTH, forget it. I'm here to say that you just have to know. The old Weaver Pullman Bradley passenger cars, which at least in my opinion are really nice, Atlas released under the Trainman brand. I have no idea why. They're freaking gorgeous cars. The other thing I can say is gorgeous is in the eye of the beholder. I realize some people are extremely into detail. I can tell you I am not extremely into detail. We don't handle brass. There's some kind of a give and take that has to be done. If you won't, there's two ends of the market. You can have all the incredibly detailed. You could go do the Silver Meteor as it was in 1956 with every car exact and exactly what it was, and it's going to cost you a lot of money. And that market is out there. And I realize there's some people listening here who that is their marketplace. That's where they are. On the other hand, where we are is more of what I call the 3 foot rule. It's if you can't tell the difference from looking at it from 3 feet away, that's our market. It's got a decent amount of detail, but it isn't like you're going to put it up in your face. You're not going to have working traps on passenger cars. So that's kind of our focus, is to try to keep it as inexpensive as possible, but still have a reasonable amount of detail, something that, is not ridiculously undetailed, and from 3 feet away, it still looks pretty decent. That's, kind of what our marketplace has been. We work with the manufacturers to try to get more two-rail done. Atlas had a big change in people who were running the show probably around 2015, 2016, 2017, and they were obviously considering not doing any more two-rail, and we really got on them about, we need you to do more two-rail. And believe me, they didn't really look at me. What they really looked at was their numbers and said, what are we producing? Is it worth the trouble? Luckily, they decided to keep doing two-rail, and they not as much as I would like. I wish they had done their Alco S2 switchers in two-rail, and they said, we wanted to do it in two-rail, but we couldn't figure out how to do the pilots. As probably a lot of you know, most of the big model railroad companies are not run by trained people. They're run by business people. So in some cases, they've learned the model train industry, or I'd say in most cases, they've learned the model train industry from being in it. It wasn't like they had a large knowledge of trains and then said, oh, I'll get into the model train industry. It was the other way around. So their knowledge has been increasing over time, but it's not going to be anywhere close to the knowledge who's been, like, say, most of you who've known a lot about trains and have studied real trains and model trains over a period of time. So that's very frustrating for me sometimes when I have to talk with them and say, I have to avoid saying, do you have any idea what you're talking about? I have to bite my tongue a lot, because there's things that I see that I say, this isn't right. Why are you doing this? And I realize a lot of times it's just a business decision. One of the problems with Atlas is Atlas's core is HO&N. That's where they make their money, not in O-Gauge. O-Gauge didn't come. HO started with Atlas back in the 1930s, and N-Gauge in the 1960s, and O-Gauge in 1998. So it's always been kind of a stepchild, and we're lucky that they're doing as much with it as they are. That they're actually coming out with new cars. The new stuff they're making is gorgeous. If you've seen their auto carriers, I'm surprised how many people have layouts that are large enough, or maybe there's enough club layouts to run these auto carriers. They're full scale length, 89-foot auto carriers. They're huge, but the detail is amazing. I mean, for a car that you can buy for $150, the detail is amazing. And there's a lot of other new stuff, and they're going to be coming out with a center beam flat car soon. And I have not seen them. I have not seen any prototypes, but my guess is when they come out, everybody's going to say, this is just friggin' amazing. No one has done an O-scale center beam flat car yet. If you go out to the real railroads, they're all over the place. It's the primary car that's used to handle lumber these days. And so those, I have no idea when they're getting here. I've ordered a lot of extras. When the auto carriers first came out, we were scrambling for every one we could get, because everybody finally took a look at them and said, oh, I want these. I've never seen anything so nice and so well detailed. And I'm expecting that's going to happen again with the center beam flat cars. A lot of people have ordered them. A lot of people haven't. They were going to say, I want to see them first. I don't know if I'm the only one who's ordered heavy on these, or if everybody's ordering heavy. You never know what kind of quantity on anything is going to be out there when they come out. You just don't know. If it's something you want, I encourage people to pre-order, because some things sell out and some things don't. And if we all had a crystal ball, we'd know which things would sell out, and we'd order more of them. We hate running out of things when people still want them. Nobody likes that happening, but it happens because we don't always guess what people are going to want. For instance, as we say in New Jersey, we are doing a Bangor and Aroostook early red, white, and blue boxcar. It's an outside braced wood boxcar. They actually painted 5 of them in the red, white, and blue scheme, and they said state of Maine potatoes on them, not a state of Maine product. And we went to MTH and said, we want to do this car. It's a decent car. If you put 2 rail trucks on it, it is not a piece of junk. And then we said we'd do that. And, you know, a normal special run is about 100 cars. And we've sold out of all 100 cars. And we had to go back to them and say, can you make more for us? And luckily we said, yeah, we can make some more for you. So when they show up, we'll have enough for hopefully for everybody who wants them. But again, I never thought a red, white, and blue on a wood outside brace boxcar was going to sell all that well. I'm amazed how many people have wanted that car. Um, so, anyway, public delivery chat, getting back to our business, as most of you know, we have a website. You ordering on the website, we try to make that as easy as possible. There are glitches at times when you can't order something or the order won't go through. You can always call us on the phone. Everybody's website in this industry is different. On ours, if you pre-order, the price that's shown is the pre-order deposit. Some people say, "What?" I get people who call us and say, "Is this car really $5?" I'm like, "No, it's not. That's the deposit you leave to order the car." And so we put that price up, the deposit price, rather than the price. If I put the full price of something's going to cost $150, some people come to us and say, "Do I have to pay $150 now?" And the answer is no. I realize a lot of people do not take deposits at all, do not require deposits on pre-orders. We got into that because the list of people who pre-ordered stuff and never picked it up is about this thick. And we finally said, no, we can't just keep going on this way. Our deposits we ask for are not huge, but we need to, it's some way to keep people who are serious about they want this separated from the people like, oh, I'm thinking about it. I can always just not pick it up if I don't want it. It's a business thing, you know. The people I would never want to even count the number of thousands of dollars that we would be ahead if everybody picked up their stuff if they said that they wanted. Inventory is always a problem in this business, as it is in any product-based business. Holding inventory is not free. It costs a lot of money to have inventory, and as many of you know, the public delivery track, that's probably what we're known for, is our breadth of our inventory, that you can find stuff that was made 20 and 30 years ago and we still have it new in the box. And the reason that's possible is because we were never in a position where we had to unload inventory to raise cash to pay for the new stuff that was coming in, which is what most businesses do, is just turn stuff over as fast as you can, go get the new stuff, turn that over as fast as you can. So you never have anything that was made 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 years ago. You're busy turning it over. That's the way most businesses operate. We were just lucky. I never did this for a living, so I never had to really worry about cash flow as much as people who are doing this and making a living at it. So we have a lot of great old stuff that's been around forever. You know, I shouldn't say been around forever, but stuff that, you know, was made 30 years ago and we still have it. It's still new in the box. It's still a good piece. So with that, I guess I'm kind of up to, are there any questions? I don't want to just keep going on and on. I do know a lot about what's going on in the inside of the companies. I can share some of it. I can't share all of it. Not unless I want to get an email that says, why are you talking about that? Okay, go ahead, David.
Okay, yeah, one point, and this is one that is always counterintuitive. The happiest manufacturer is a manufacturer who has a totally empty warehouse. You want those shipments to come in, you want them to be pre-reserved, you want them to be shipped out, and you don't want to carry any stock. So Atlas is much happier when they've got nothing in their warehouse, which puts people who are hoping to buy things in a difficult position, because a lot of times by the time the catalog is listed as a coming item, it's sold out already. And the reason it's sold out is because people like Beth, and there are not very many Beths out there, but people like Beth go ahead and reserve their portion of the run. So the warehouse is empty.
Yeah, this is very true. And believe me, we've had to tighten stuff up a lot. We used to be able to order X quantity of whatever was coming out. We can't do that anymore. We just cannot afford to do it anymore. There was a resurgence right after COVID. Everybody started producing like crazy. And right now production is fat. There's there's more things being produced than people really can use or want, or that can be soaked up by the dollars that are out there. And so if we tried to stock everything that was being made that looked like it might be good, we would run out of money in no time. Another problem we have is in the OGH model train industry, the margins are terrible. I don't know if anybody watches Shark Tank, but in Shark Tank, if somebody comes in and says, "What's the cost to make?" and they say it's $3, what do you sell it for? And they say $29.95. They say that's great, that's wonderful, that's what everybody should be doing. In the train business, if we sell something for $65, we're paying like $48 for it, $50 for it. We're not really making much money, especially if we discount it from the retail price, and of course we have to pay processing, credit card fees, and all that kind of stuff. There's not a whole lot of money left over. And which favors the high volume people, because of the high volume people, you sell 5 million a year. If you're only making 10% on it, you still have $500,000. For us, if we sell $500,000 a year and we only make 10%, we're only left with $50,000 left over at the end of the day. And to run a company for a year to make $50,000 in this day and age is a waste of time. In my case, it's something you like running a business. You have an established business. It becomes your baby. You don't want to let go of it. So people say, "Why are you still doing this?" And I say, it's momentum. We've always done it. It's something comfortable with. Right now, I have a very good friend of mine who works with me on processing the trains, and that kind of makes it fun that I have somebody who I know very well who comes over every day, and we spend 3, 4, 5 hours taking care of orders, and enjoying ourselves doing it. Yeah, go ahead.
A question for you. You mentioned that you work with Joe Hader at Weaver, and Weaver had a variety of tooling, but toward the last, he had several cars that were interesting and overall of higher quality. A Milwaukee Road boxcar, the Penzi proprietary covered hopper H30, and there was another one. Oh, the B&O wagon top boxcar. I understand that Lionel got the tooling. I'm sorry, that Atlas got the tooling on that. Do you know what, other than the H30s that you have from the prior production, what's the story with those different cars?
Okay, when Weaver shut down, my understanding, and this is just my understanding, is that he owed Lionel a lot of money for licensing on TMCC for the electrical system on engines, which they were using. That he owed Lionel engines, and in exchange for that, a certain amount of tooling, a lot of the tooling went to Lionel to settle out things with them. Most of, quote, the Ultra line, which is the PS1 box cars, the 2-bay and 3-bay hopper cars, offset and ribbed, the 4-bay hopper cars, let's see, the 50-foot IPD box cars, the 57-foot refrigerators, the 57-foot mechanical refrigerators, the AC2 covered hoppers, the PS2 covered hoppers, the PS2CD 4740 covered hoppers, the 40-foot tank cars, and the 50-foot tank cars. All of that tooling went to Lionel. They started this. I'm going to say this once. Lionel's a mess. Okay, there I said it. They started releasing it on the Lion Scale name. Then they released some of this. That's when they were trying to make the cars in North Carolina. They moved all the tooling to North Carolina. It didn't work out. The cars we got, we were getting cars in kit form. Basically, they were put together. And by the time they got to us with pieces, and we had to put the cars back together again. So we don't mind doing that, but a lot of dealers who don't want to do that complained, and they sent all the tooling over to Vietnam, where they make everything now. So they re-released a lot of former Weaver Ultraline stuff as regular Lionel. They didn't even differentiate it from other tooling they had. It was just Lionel. They didn't say a thing. Then a couple years later, they went back and started calling it Lion Scale again. Then they went back and called it part of Lionel again. There were times when they had it in the catalog as just Lionel, like any other Lionel, new product, which it wasn't. And in our order forms, it said Lion Scale. It's just, Lionel has had absolutely no consistency in the way they're selling the product, which has just been for people like you and me who really want to know what's going on, it's been awful. And in our website, everything that is former Weaver, we list as Lion Scale. Whether Lionel lists it as Lion Scale or not, we say it's Lion Scale, we say it's former Weaver. So people who have some interest in model trains and knowledge of model trains know what they are getting. Because some of the other earlier Lionel, such as the Lionel milk cars, the Lionel wood sheath, double sheath box cars, the others that I can't think of, are different tooling and are actually more detailed than the Lionel cars. The 50-foot wood deck Topsies, the trailers on flat cars, that's a really nice car. Lots of two-railers two-railed those cars because they were so nice. And the Weaver cars just don't have that detail. Not that I'm trying to put down Weaver, but they don't have that detail. So we're trying to delineate that on our website so you know which ones are Weaver cars and which ones are former Lionel, which generally former Lionel O-scale style cars that have more detail to them. Now, Atlas wanted to get a lot more of the Weaver tooling. They got what they could. They were disappointed that a lot of it went to Lionel that they couldn't get. What they did get, I didn't mention also Weaver. Lionel got the B60 baggage cars and the 60-foot RPOs also. But what Atlas got was the B&O wagon tops. They got a lot of the engines. They got the RS11s. They got the VO1000s. They got the 280 consolidations. Those are the ones I can think of offhand. The only one that they've rerun so far has been the 280 consolidation. The other two, they had them up in their catalog about 10 years ago, and Joe Kozlowski, who was at that time pretty much running all the production at Atlas, calls me a call and said, I just got a call that our manufacturer in China has shut down. And that was not everything they made, but that was a huge amount of what they're making, including all the engines. And they since have been able to slowly get all that running again. It's a long story, but that's why Atlas all of a sudden said, hey, guess what? All these things we are about to make, which was the RS11s, the VO1000s, and a lot of other things, they said, we just don't have a place to make them. And they kept talking with the factory and said, can't you keep the factory open? The factory said, we don't have any interest anymore. We're not making enough money for us to care. Luckily, they kept things going. But this is the reason, among other things, that the RS D15s, which were first cataloged in 2015, showed up 10 years later. It took 10 years for them to figure out how are we going to get these made, blah, blah, blah. And it was kind of a joke that, hey, people pre-ordered stuff and they were showing up 10 years later. Speaking of which, we still have some of those in stock. One of the things I did was a lot of dealers, when they finally showed up 10 years later, said, we don't want them anymore. And I said, I'll take them all. So we don't have a ton of them left, but it's a nice engine. It's sold under the Rail King trademark, but it's a nicely detailed engine. I've never known anybody who bought one of those in two-rail and disappointed with it. Also, they made it in two-rail analog DC, which everybody seems to like. Not the Atlas stuff before MTH came along and kind of half merged with Atlas. People, I think they were running QSI for a while, then they were running ERR, or no, Loke Sound. They were running Loke Sound. And people are really happy with Loke Sound for their sound and so forth on those engines. But a lot of people are not happy with the MTH DCC two-rail thing, at least from what I've heard. So they're preferring to get rather than buy one with DCC and have to tear it all out anyway, they're preferring the analog DC. And luckily, Atlas is making analog DC two-rail engines again. GP15s, who knows when they're going to show up, but they're out there, and we still have them available for pre-order. And what's the one they just announced? I can't think of it off the top of my head. They just announced another one that they're doing in two-rail analog. Oh, the MP15s. Speaking of which, this is a time I want to mention this for two-railers. I know in the two-rail market, for people who are running shuffle outs and so forth and want to run diesel, there's been a lack of an end cab switcher for a long time. Anytime I see an end cab switcher come up in two-rail, I know if I can afford it, I can sell it. There's just not enough out there. So finally, Atlas decides to run an end cab two-rail switcher with the horizontal drive. And unfortunately, they decided to run the MP15, which for everybody who would like to run something from the late 40s through current day, who would love to have an SW8 or SW9 or SW1200, which were around for all those years, the MP15s didn't come out till the 1980s, and hardly any other railroads actually bought them. So it was just not the optimum engine, to come out with when they wanted to start an end cap switcher. But this is what they decided to do. One of my appeals to you guys is we tried to go to them and say, we want to do undecorated or actually painted gray, unlettered MP15s, two-rail analog DC. And I figured this is great. People can start painting them the way they want. The bad news is we only got orders for like 8 or 10 engines, which is just not enough for us to do the run. And I know a lot of people would like to have an end cab switcher that they can run, in two-rail. But I asked Atlas, what can we do to make this work? And they said, you got to buy 30 units. It's like, if you're not buying 30 or 32 units, we're not going to run it. And for me to say, okay, maybe I'll have 10 or 12 sold and I'll have another 18 of them sitting on the shelf is just not economically viable. It just isn't. So I don't know if people are just waiting around saying, well, I'll see, or what. But if I don't have pre-orders, I can't run them. And I'm really disappointed because we really wanted to get an end cap switcher out there. The good news is if we don't do that, Atlas is telling me, and who knows if it's true, that they will run the SW8s and SW9s and SW1200s again. My experience has been that everything they tell me is subject to change like every hour on the hour. I've been told so many things over the years that never happened. And not only told they were going to happen, but, oh, this is definitely going to happen, and they don't happen, that I'll believe it when I see it things, stage. Another problem with most of the manufacturers is as much as I go in and say, hey, we want to have this done, getting it done is very, very difficult. Most of the manufacturers, for whatever reason, they want to decide what they want to do, and they really don't want input from, unless they have friends I don't know about. They're not certainly taking any input from me on what it is they want to make next. A lot of times they just go to the production numbers and say, well, how many of these did we sell last time? And they're not really looking at anything like what's going on in the world. What do people want? It's what did we sell in the past? And it's like, future sales do not have anything really to do with what's going to sell. I mean, past sales really not, especially from 20 or 30 years ago, what have they got to do with what's going to sell tomorrow? But you can't convince them of that. You just can't convince them of that. Atlas has a relatively high turnover rate in personnel. This is not a good thing. It's hard to develop a relationship with somebody when that somebody keeps changing. Also, Atlas just does not have, it's not the same as when Jim Weaver was there. When Jim Weaver and Joe Poldnowski were there, it was much more of a stable operation. Now it seems to be a little bit more all over the place. We'll change our minds at the last second kind of thing, which is a lot more difficult to deal with. But I put in as much input as I can. I pester them as much as I can. I'm glad that they're now, when they have a dealer decides to go out of business or whatever, if there's two-rail, they come to me and say, you want this two-rail? We just picked up a bunch of two-rail that suddenly became extra that hasn't been delivered yet, but we're getting some U30Cs. We're getting more of some of the Atlas Master stock that we weren't originally getting a lot of because they said, hey, do you want this stuff? And my tendency is to say, if I can, say, I'll take all of it. And the reason I say that isn't because I'm going to make money on it. It's because that way, the next time this happens, they're going to come to me again. And that's kind of like, sometimes you compromise, you take a hit because it puts you at the front of the line for the next time stuff comes up, that's available, that's hard to get. Inventory wise, just to let you know, Atlas runs the tightest ship. Most of what comes in from Atlas is sold out when it gets here. There was a time when there were extras around and we could go back and say, hey, we want some more. Not at Atlas anymore. Very, very little of what Atlas there's extra stock. Their in-stock list is very short, at least on O-Gauge. I don't know about HO&N. MTH, they have more stock than they expected to have. When Mike, I could go through that whole other story if anybody cares about MTH retiring and going out of business and then not going out of business. It's a whole long story. It's pretty funny. But MTH is in business. Mike Wolf still has his fingers in it, although he's not in day-to-day operations. And they were trying to run something with low inventory. And let me tell you right now, their inventory is running pretty fat. It's just the world being in the mess that it is in these days for whatever reason, there was a huge amount of demand for trains during COVID. And me and every other dealer were just looking at it. We were amazed. Everything sold. It didn't make any difference what it was. We were selling stuff like there was no tomorrow. And some people adjusted to after COVID and cut back, and some people didn't. And it led to, and the manufacturers, for some reason, just they went crazy after COVID and just started manufacturing stuff like there's no tomorrow. MTH has got a pretty big backlog of stuff right now. What they're going to do with it, I don't know. There was a time when they would put that stuff out on sale to the dealers. They have not done that, so I don't really know what's going to happen. On the other hand, it's all 3-rail, so I don't know if you guys would have any interest. That's another thing I wanted to get to is converting 3-rail to 2-rail. That seems to be the way things are going to go these days, because when it comes to steam engines, nobody other than Sunset / Third Rail / Golden Gate Depot, that's the only place that 2-rail steam engines are going to be made these days. And not to go off on another aside, but that's another whole story. We probably still are officially dealers for Sunset and Golden Gate Depot. But about 5, 6, 7 years ago, Scott said, listen, I'm just not making enough on this one. I really don't want to have dealers anymore. And what it really came down to was whenever there was a problem and something had to come back for repair, Scott hated that. Scott hated having to spend money on repairs. And so if he sold something to me at a 30% discount and then it came back for repair, he felt like, I'm not making any money on this whatsoever. I'm so sick of having to repair things, and it's chewing out all of my profit. I don't want to have dealers anymore. And that's basically what we went into. And he said, you want to buy stuff wholesale, I'll give you a 10% discount. And I said, would you buy trains on a 10% discount? You're out of your mind. There's no way I'm buying stuff on a 10% discount. And there may be some dealers out there who still do that. For me, it is not worth the trouble. It is not worth the trouble at all to try to handle something on a 10% discount. You're making no money, that you're putting out a lot of effort. And every time there's any kind of problem with an engine, that just takes care of all the work you did. Now you've wasted all the time and money you put into selling 10 engines to get one fixed. So that's where that kind of came to an end. The good news is, before that happened, we bought it. We went up there, and as Scott said, we used to sweep the floor. We would go up there, and everything that Scott had lying around that he said, I just want to move this on and clean out the warehouse, we ended up with it. We came back with our truck full every time we went up there. And so Golden Gate Depot passenger cars, we probably still have 400 of them here. Engines, not so much. There was a time, and I don't know what's going on currently, but there was a time when quality control was an issue. And when quality control was an issue, I said, okay, we don't have to deal with engines anymore. It was just, we do have some. We sell some FL9s here. We have some E7s. We have some E8s. We probably have a couple of F units. But that's, not so much in engines, but a lot of, I'm thrilled to say we still have a lot of Golden Gate Depot passenger cars here. And most of them are up on the website. The website doesn't get refreshed as often as I want to. Every once in a while I have to go down there and say, what do we have left now? Let's make sure we get this stuff back up on the website. But I just want to let you know, if you're looking for Golden Gate, we still have a lot of it here. There's a lot of things that have not been listed, a lot of aluminum cars. There was a time when Scott wanted to get rid of all the aluminum cars he had. And I said, okay, fine, I'll take them. And so we still have quite a bit of aluminum Golden Gate Depot here. Question?
Several specific questions. Number one, what's your website? www.publicdeliverytrack.com. I should put that instead of my name. That would be the smartest thing to do. I don't know if I'm... Okay, www.publicdeliverytrack.com. Okay, second question. What have you seen, if anything, in terms of the fallout from tariffs? Are you seeing that impacting anything?
Absolutely. Tariffs have not done anybody any good in this industry. Atlas started a dealer interest group, a lobbying group, more or less, to kind of fight the tariffs. I can't remember the name of it, but Atlas actually went and formed a group to lobby in Washington against tariffs. It's you buy an engine and it costs $600 and you get a bill and it's $660. That's what the tariffs are about. it hasn't hit freight cars as badly as engines, because engines just cost more, and it's just a straight percentage. It isn't per piece or anything. If you buy $1,000 engine, there's a $100 tariff on it. And for people who have a lot of money, I guess they don't care. But our clientele are, I think, money conscious, and we try to be money conscious, and we try to keep our prices down also. So as much as we can, and still have something left over at the end of the day. Tariffs have not helped the industry at all. So is that answer? That's the short answer, and we're dealing
Okay.
with it the best we can.
So you have seen it and it's adverse and you don't see a way out of it. Is that right?
No, unless the lobbying group can come up with a carve out. But that does not seem likely at this time. I think the best thing is to try to hold it at 10%. But it's the way the government is operating now. Not that I want to get into politics. It seems to be very haphazard every day. You never know what could change tomorrow.
Okay. You mentioned that you had a disappointing response to the uh, request for reservations for an Atlas as opposed to MTH MP15. Is that have you given up on that one, or is that still open?
For the Atlas one,
Yeah.
it's still open. It just depends if I get a bunch of requests in the next couple of days. I think we can open it up again. Atlas has already gone to their manufacturer and put in an order, but I told them, hey, there's a chance I might want to do these, so they're aware of the fact that I might come back and say, hey, we have enough orders to do these. But right now,
Right.
8 or 10 orders, it's off unless it comes on again.
Okay, so this would be Atlas tooling, their good mechanism,
Yep.
unlettered,
Mm-hmm.
gray painted,
Mm-hmm.
analog. That is no
That's correct.
DCT. Is that right?
That is
Okay.
correct.
So if you want these or you know anybody that does, now's the time to do them, because the way Atlas and the other manufacturers do it is they tee up a production schedule, and when the production schedule is running, they do all of the different road names that they're going to do, and then they shut it down and ship and pack and ship. So now is the time. Do you have a time horizon at all? Are we talking next week? We
The
talking
last
next
thing
month?
we're talking maybe next week. It's ASAP as far as Atlas is concerned. And if anybody is interested, one of the reasons this all happens the way it does is they have to source parts for all this in Asia, and that takes time. It isn't like the factory that makes the engines makes all the parts. The parts are sourced from all over the place, so they have to get a count on parts. And it isn't like they stock parts. The factories do not stock parts. They get the parts in for the production. They make the production goes out. Something new comes in. They have to source all the parts again to make it. Plus any small design changes that might be come along, they're going to have to redo that. So it's kind of like clothing. It's a one-shot deal. We make it, it's done, it's out. So it's very different from HO&N used to be that they would have what they were items that were all open stock. In other words, the factory is always going to make you this stuff, and it's always going to be available. They'll always be in stock. That's not happening with O-Gauge at all anywhere. There is no open stock. Everything is done in batches. The batch comes, the batch goes. And once the batch is ordered and the order's in, we can't change it because they can't go back to all their part suppliers and say, we need more parts. This is the parts we have. That's that.
All right. Now, Atlas did, if I recall, only a single run of the SW1200s.
Uh-huh.
It also had the quality mechanism.
Uh-huh.
Did I hear you say that they contemplate doing a run of SW1200s?
The word I got was kind of mushy. It was just the SWs.
Okay.
So
we're talking SW7, 8, 9 with the two stack plug-in on the top of the boiler to make a 7 or 9.
The 8 has got one stack and the 7 and 9 have got two stacks.
Right.
The only thing different they did, I think, on the SW1200s, they put Flexicoil trucks on it, which is kind of funny because most of the SW1200s that were made didn't have Flexicoil trucks. Only ones in the very, very late end. Some of the Canadian ones. Other than that, you're hard pressed to find the difference between an SW1200 and an SW9. They're, as far as I'm concerned, they're virtually the same engine. And back in the days when I worked on the Erie-Lackawanna Railroad, I've been on both of them, and I know. In real life, they're virtually the same engine. So
okay. All right. We're going to need to move along in a couple of minutes, but before we do, I want to give anybody who has a question the opportunity to ask it. Now's your time, and you're going to get a straight answer from Beth. All right, I think she must have. I think she must. Hold on. It says Tim is asking, what's the availability of track?
That's a good question. Track is done in batches also. We do have some two-rail track in stock. You can check the website for what we have. As far as ordering it from Atlas, and our supply is pretty good. It isn't like we're just down to 2 or 3 pieces. Atlas, it comes in batches. So if we run out of something, most of the time if we order it, we can get it fairly quickly. Sometimes not. It just depends where they are, whether they have any in stock. But track has not been a problem. I have not had people complaining, hey, I can't get track.
Yeah, but I was at Atlas when an entire container of O-scale 2-rail track came in. That's the way they do it, is just they wait and they get a run and the whole thing ships at once. And if Atlas is doing it right, the day after it comes in, it goes out and the warehouse is empty.
Well, luckily track is not so much. Track, they actually order enough to have some in stock. That's one of the things that they do order more of than they have in orders is track. So track is not as bad as engines in cars, where when they come in, they go out and they don't want to have anything in stock. So not quite so bad on track.
Okay. By the way, there are several remarks in the chat. If you don't know how to use the chat, look at the toolbar across the bottom of your
there we go.
screen, and you'll see a thing that says chat and has a couple of thought balloons in it. There's some interesting comments, and there's also a note with the public delivery tracks website. So thank you. Anything else that we need to cover? Beth, you've been wonderful, by the way.
There's just one other thing I wanted to mention, and that is, if you can convert from 3-rail to 2-rail, and the biggest problem seems to be pilots more than anything else, getting fixed pilots. 2-rail, a lot of the MTH engines, you can buy the 2-rail wheel sets. They already have the DCC installed in them. If that doesn't bother you, I'm going to see if I can find. If you're not aware, there's a separate company called MTH Parts and Sales. It's a totally separate company from MTH that handles MTH parts, and all the Atlas engines that are, quote, in a Premier line are ex-MTH engines, which means if they were made in 2-rail at some point in time in the past, we should be able to get pilots for them. One of the engines, for instance, GP40s, we should be able to get pilots from them. I can pester, or you can go to MTH Parts and Sales and say, I need fixed pilots for this engine. And if they don't have them, they should be able to find the tooling from them. It's in their best interest to have as many parts for as many people as they can. And I think that's what they've been trying to do. So pilots that you can just screw in, that you can change the wheel sets on the trucks, take the old 3-rail coupler off and put a 2-rail scale pilot on it, should be possible if we can source those pilots, which have been made in the past, which means the tooling does exist somewhere.
Hey, Beth, you mentioned about aluminum passenger cars. Do you know what road names you have?
I have no idea. I have to go down and see what's actually down there. I know there's going to be Great Northern and Northern Pacific and UP and Southern Pacific. They're the ones that are the most prevalent. What else? How much? If there's New York Central, I don't know. I know New York Central ESEs. I know we have some sets of them sitting around. There's a lot of Penske stuff in sets. I mean, all the different Penske stuff that Golden Gate Depot, Scott did over the years, all the different pre-war and post-war and this set and that set. And we have a lot of loose cars from different sets sitting around. And I have to actually go down there and inventory and see what we actually have. Some of it we have in full sets. Some of it we just have loose cars. One of the things
does that include the Santa Fe too?
Yeah, I have Santa Fe cars. I definitely have Santa Fe aluminum cars here. I just have to go through and see what's actually here. And it just takes a lot of time and effort. I mean, we have to we have to get orders that are here out the door. We have to do a lot of work. We have a pallet coming from MTH and a pallet coming from Atlas next week. So we have to get out invoices for all that stuff. That's as another thing, just to let you know. It used to be when you pre-ordered something, you'd give your credit card number and they would just charge your credit card and send it out when it got here. That hasn't happened in years. There's a lot of reasons, but basically when you pre-order something, we get your pre-order, but we have to send you an invoice out, and then you can pay that invoice with PayPal or any credit card you have. But it takes time and effort for us to get all those invoices sent out. So we have to do that. Then, if a lot of this pallet is sold, we have to get all that processed and get it out of here. We also own 5 acres and a warehouse. There's a lot of work to do here. So when it comes to, I get questions all the time. Do you have this in stock? And it's like, I'll get a chance when I get down there and I have a chance to look, I will, but it's hard to, every once in a while, we try to see if we can spend a couple hours and just take one segment and say, let's see what we have here, and we'll put it up on the website. And that's kind of what we do. And the GGD has been on the list for a long time of, let's see what we have and get it up on the website here. We have a ton of K-Line that we've never put on the website. When K-Line went out of business, there was a container of K-Line sitting in Baltimore that we found out about. And Just Trains was in business at that time. And I said, Kirk, who was still alive at the time, said, go down to Baltimore. They want $7,000 as a lien on this container. See if you can get it. He got the container, and I got a big pick of everything that was in that container, and there was a lot of 21-inch K-Line in there, which we bought. A lot of it's been sold, but a lot of it's still sitting up in the rafters. We haven't even got to it yet. So who knows what's up there? So that's the story. Yeah, when you have wants, we try to get the stuff as best we can. It just takes time and it takes energy. But I was saying about engines, there's some really, really nice 3-row engines. If you've ever seen the MTH Rail King Scale RS1, is as nice as any engine I've ever seen. I mean, it's just gorgeous, and everybody knows it, and it runs great. It's just a terrific engine. It doesn't have the horizontal drive, unfortunately, but if you could come up with a way to 2-rail that engine easily, you've got a great scale engine and a great classic scale engine. It's just, this is kind of the way things are going. Is other than I don't know what's going on with GGD. I've never met Jay, to be honest with you. I sent him a letter saying, would you like this wholesale to us again? I've never heard back from him. So my guess is it's going to be direct to consumer only. The stuff is nice. It's expensive. We can sell a Rail King scale engine for $400, $450. An RS1 from him, I'm sure, is going to cost somewhere at or above $800. So it's just a question. I guess to some people, spending $800 to get what you want, not to fool with it, is well worth the trouble. On the other hand, we feel like, we'd rather have a $400 engine than an $800 engine for something that isn't all that much different. I'm sorry, I've been all over the place in talking. One thing leads to another, and I haven't really scooped it around in a circle and brought it back to where we started. But any other questions anybody else have about what's going on in the industry or what's next?
Beth, is there a way for us to contact you to ask you if you have a certain car in stock that you may not know that you have?
Best thing to do is to email me, pdt212@gmail.com. If you're lucky, it'll be something that I will run across in doing other things, and I'll be able to tell you right away. I try to acknowledge all emails right away. It's just say, hey, I got your email. It'll take your time. I already have a pile of things that people are asking about, and a lot of it just has to do with where it is in the warehouse. If it's something that I'm walking right past, fine. If it's something way in the back and it's got some other stuff in front of it right now, it's going to take time to get back there. Or if it's in a box that's at the bottom of a pile of boxes that's 10 boxes high, we've had our fun of taking all the boxes down, taking out the box in the bottom, putting all the boxes back up again. That just takes more time. But please feel free to ask. I can't say that I'll have the answer you want, but feel free to ask.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Beth, give me the email again. I'm going to put it in the chat room if I can. Okay. Hold on.
I just did, David.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So Beth's email is in the chat, pdt212@gmail.com. And we're going to need to move along so I don't get in trouble with the guys that want short programs. But I really want to thank Beth for the time that she spent with us. A lot of this is sort of drinking from a fire hose in terms of, inside baseball industry practice and so on. But it is very, very useful, and I really thank her for sharing it. Beth is I think unique is probably not an overused term, and public delivery track really is a good way to try and get around some of the tendencies of the manufacturers to underproduce so they get it all sold as soon as it comes in. Your experience with their track, by the way, is different than mine, which is generally it comes in, it goes out, and if they have some leftovers, you're lucky. Anyway, I want to thank Beth. You've got her public delivery track email to check the inventory. You've got her direct email, so you can inquire of her directly. By the way, Daniel Rabel has a note in the chat that basically says the MP15 running gear is really superb, and even if you can't use the body, the mechanism is worth it. But bear in mind that if you want those MP15s, you got to move now, and Beth will keep lobbying for the SW789.
Let me just say real quickly, I want to thank everyone who does purchase from us. We really appreciate it. I don't get a chance to thank everyone who there's plenty of other places you can buy stuff. So we really do appreciate when people come to us. I don't know if you want me to answer this question or not. Where would you tell someone to start in O-scale 2 rail? Do you want me to answer that, or is that going to take too long?
Sure.
The first thing is figure out what space you have and figure out what you want to do. I have too many people who start building a layout and halfway through say, no, I don't want to do this. I want to do something else. Do you want to buy back all my C&O? Because I've decided I want to have Santa Fe now. It's figure out what you want to do first. And get yourself an education. As Cy Sims used to say, our best consumer is an educated customer. It's educate yourself about what's out there so that you don't have some idea and then say, oh, no, I can't do this. It's really get an education first about what's available, and then look at your space and your size and develop the whole plan in your head and then go forward. What most people tend to do is they just tend to buy a bunch of stuff and then try to figure out what they're going to do. And I would say do it in the other direction.
Wonderful. Beth started out in New Jersey, and I've heard that when people move to California, they get laid back and slow down and stuff. I gather it hasn't happened yet.
They all hate me.
Anyway, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We need to move along the program. You're welcome to stay on. We have at this point, we're going to terminate the formal part of the program. I would note that our next program will be on February 22nd, and look forward to having you join us then. I don't think there is a playoff game that day, and we will let you know who the guests are going to be. Things are sort of up in the air with Jay, and there are a couple of other very interesting possibilities for people to come and share this. And I want to thank everybody for participating today. We do have a practice of keeping the meeting open for what we loosely call good and welfare. Good and welfare will start by anybody who is bringing products of interest to O-scale 2 railers to make whatever announcements you want to make. We also will allow time for people to tell the group any equipment that you might have for sale that's O-scale 2 rail, and anything that you might want that you don't have that you're looking for. And we will keep that open so that people can ask their questions, so that people can make their announcements. So we are adjourned formally. We will continue for at least a few minutes, depending on how much crosstalk and suggestions there are. Let me start by asking, are there any new products that people have that are either available or under development right now?
Hey, David, this is Daniel Rabel. I've got one.
Please.
Okay, I had put together a design for O-scale utility poles about a month and a half, 2 months ago. Real high fidelity pole designs that are at least on par with the old Weaver poles, but dare I might say just a little bit better as well. And I'm really happy that Dan and Amy Dowdy have offered to release those components through their online store. So that's the Model Railroad Resource 3D division. So they're 3D printed poles. I put all my files online, so if you have a printer, you can print them yourself. Or if you go up on their website, they have them featured up there. They also have them in N scale and HO as well, and they're configurable towards how many arms you'd like them to be, and if you just want the arms, if you want a tapered pole as well. So if you're in the market for that or a few hundred of them, like some of the larger layouts need, you can now get them again. So please check it out. And one feature I did put in there is if you do go with the tapered pole, they're about a prototype 35 feet high. I also have up there extensions. So anytime wires would cross a right of way or a roadway, you can buy a little extension and pop them up an additional 15 or 20 feet, just like the prototype, would have, because, poles are not uniform height. I'll type a little link here in the chat when I'm done blathering away about them. And I'll post where my files are too, if you want to just get the raw files and print your own. But either way, I'm really thrilled that Amy and Dan were able to take that on. So that's my big announcement. Thanks
Well,
all.
thank you. I have seen the drawings and prototypes for those, and they're really nice, and they will take your modeling up a step or two on that. So thank you, Daniel, for that. And you can reach Dan and Amy through O-Scale Resource. I think Dan has a separate announcement. Okay, Daniel has the link to the utility pole, so that's great. Mike, let's see. Mike Slater. Mike works with the O-Scale Chicago show and has, I understand, an announcement that just came in. Mike, can you tell us what's up?
Yeah. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody that actually has contacted the March Meet committee for wanting to do a clinic. This was I think, first time since I've been helping out with the clinics where I did not have to go on to Facebook and beg and plead for clinicians. We do have a couple time slots open. We have about a 4:15 time slot right before dinner. If anybody wants to use the room for any type of meeting, that's on Saturday. But I'll just kind of run down the what's in the clinic room on Friday evening from 6:30 to 8. There's a general O-scale discussion meeting, and that's going to be run by the new owner of Sunset Third Rail, Jay. Then from 8 o'clock to 9:30 will be the Proto 48, and that's going to be moderated by the father-son team of Dave and James Schultz. And then for Saturday, we have a 10 o'clock. I'm afraid to even try to pronounce his name, but Santa. Now I'm not going to murder his name, but he's going to be doing a clinic on scratch building Devon Rio Grande 1000 series heavyweight coaches. Then at 11 o'clock, Dan, that was just on, is going to be doing a clinic on 3D design and printing. We'll have a 12 o'clock lunch break. And then at 1 o'clock, Nick will be doing a clinic on repairing brass models. 3 o'clock, we'll have Glenn will be doing a clinic on the W.E. Fowler boxcars. Of course, like I mentioned, the 4 o'clock is open. If anybody wants to do anything on Sunday, the clinic room is open in the morning for that. And then also last year we tried doing a clinic or at 8 o'clock in the morning. I don't know if it was a little bit on the early side, but we figured that if instead of having everybody waiting in the atrium for the trading halls to open, might have been a good idea to have a clinic or a meeting then. If anybody's interested in doing something at 8 o'clock on Saturday or 4 o'clock on Saturday, let us know. The meeting room is available for usage.
Super. Thank you very much, Mike, for the work that you do. And I believe your mother is involved in the administration of the show.
No, that's one of the other people on the committee. Him and his
Okay.
mother are involved.
Okay. Anyway, thank you guys very much for the work that you do. I know it's a real challenge to get it done, but the Chicago show is very well run. You guys are doing a great job.
Yep. No, thank you very much. It's all for the hobby. And in fact, as I kind of tell everybody, I'm the three railer that's working to keep the two railers going. So
Thank you. I have one small announcement. I have a company called Wit and Wisdom Models. It is unintentionally nonprofit, but one of the things that I've done is to run some models based on John Armstrong designs. And the first model that I did was a model of the cafe called Nighthawks, which is built on from a Edward Hopper painting, which is quite well known. I sold out of those. I sold out of 2 reruns on them. We now have several people who've requested more, and I have a dozen O-scale full scene Nighthawks kits that will be in and available for sale next week. You can look on my website at witandwisdom.com, and it'll tell you how to order them. I will be attending the March meet, and I will bring some with me. I'm also planning on attending O-Scale West, and I will bring at least a couple with me. Then the problem obviously is how much can you pack in a suitcase to fly out. Are there any other product announcements? Any other requests to sell or buy?
Hey, David, I got a couple items for sale quickly. I have an Atlas SW9 Pensy switcher and also Orient Express expansion set. Both are 3-foot rail, but they can be converted. I'll put my email in the chat if anybody wants to contact me about that.
Thank you, Greg. Anybody? Go ahead.
I was just going to say what's coming this week or next week from Atlas, the PS5344 boxcars, which we do have a lot of them coming in 2-rail, are arriving next week. Green Mountain, Rock Island. I can't remember all the road names, but anyway, they will be up available. The Texas Mexican, I can't remember all the road names, but anyway, they'll be up on the website shortly. I'm trying to think of what else is. We're getting some stuff from MTH. The PRSL and the Raritan River Sand cars should be showing up next week or the week after also. Basically, the PRSL actually had ex-Pensy HLC hopper cars, just regular hopper cars. They were in real life, they were painted silver with black lettering. We decided to go with something that was a little bit more PRSL. So it's a little bit of a stretch. We're using the MTH fish belly hopper car, which is not exactly the same as an HLC hopper, but it's not too far off. So we're going to have them in PRSL and also in Raritan River. Raritan River, in reality, had Penske GRA sand cars, which we've already done. Those were in a Weaver car. And so we decided, well, it's a little bit of a stretch, but we're doing Raritan River as they would have looked if the Raritan River had some HLC, Penske HLC hopper cars. And they will, MTH told us, we don't have any sand loads for them, but we can take the coal loads and paint them white. So I think that's what we're doing to have a sand load. It's supposed to come. They're pop outable, so you can put a real sand load or something that's coming to that. And there's other things coming. And like I say, U30Cs are coming. It's an Atlas, and there's other things, but I don't have the list in front of me. But things will get up on the website. Sometimes it takes a week or two because we have to get everybody who pre-ordered stuff processed first, and then see what we have left over and put it up on the website. But those are the things I can think of right offhand.
Well, there's something that I'd like to purchase, so I want to throw this out there. I'm looking for a Golden Gate Depot aluminum Hickory Creek observation car, just like the one that's over David's left shoulder. I've been trying to find one on the internet for years.
You can see these bookshelves and train models are not some sort of computer generated things. Those are the real deal.
They're hard to find.
Yeah.
Well, send me an email. We have had them here before. There might be one still here.
Fantastic. I will do that today.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes, one quick item, actually two quick items. First of all, don't paint those PRSL hopper cars silver. They were gray.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and the other thing is I'm looking for an Atlas Reading Company GP7. If anybody, and two rail, obviously two rail. If anybody has one of those, I'd like to hear from you.
And that's Bill Chaplik. Anybody else got anything? We're now down to the hardcore good and welfare, which sometimes is the best part of the meeting.
I'd be remiss not to remind everybody of the big Amherst Railway Society train show in West Springfield, Mass. Next Saturday and Sunday. We used to say it was the biggest one in the Northeast, then it was the biggest one east of the Mississippi, and now I think it's possibly the biggest in the country, or if not, it's certainly one of the top contenders.
Can you promise us good weather for that, Jamie?
Right now, it's not looking too bad.
Okay.
Not looking too bad.
Good.
I wish we could have gone to that show. We never made it there, but we do. We have a huge following in New England. I don't know why, but we do a lot of GMRC, a lot of Rutland, Vermont Railway, Maine Central, Boston, Maine. If you're looking for that stuff, we have a lot of it on our website. And when the long-awaited MTH 64-foot Woodside coaches, and there's a whole story behind that, they're going to be gorgeous. They're going to look like LaBelle cars. They're just going to be freaking gorgeous. We asked to have them done in 2-rail, and they said, no, we're only going to do in 3-rail, but we'll make 2-rail trucks for you. So I should have 2-rail trucks available. They'll also have mounting pads already on them, or mounting areas for KD couplers. The cars are going to be freaking gorgeous. We're going to have over 500 cars made, and we're going to sell out of them. I know we are. But we're doing them in unlettered, which has been very popular. We're also doing them in Rutland. We're doing them in New York, Ontario, and Western. Just to mention some New England roads. I'm trying to get more NYO and W stuff. There's big demand for that. So
what's the prototype for those?
I don't know exactly. You go on web and you look for wood passenger cars, and there's just the prototype that MTH used. I don't know offhand. I guess that's a good question. I'd have to ask them what the actual prototype was. They just look a lot like LaBelle cars to me. I said this looks like they took a LaBelle car and went from there. They do whatever's easiest, believe me.
Yeah. Well, whatever else we come out of this with, Beth, you'll be invited back anytime you want to show up and tell us what's in the back corner of the warehouse that hasn't made it to the inventory on your website.
Just keep checking the website, because whenever we have a chance, when I'm sitting out watching reruns of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, I'm sitting at the computer looking.
Walter Horlacher has his hand up. What you got,
Yes,
Walter?
boy, I am so disappointed that I signed on so late. We just came back from babysitting the grandkids all weekend, but I see Beth Marshall's on. She doesn't know me, but I purchased quite a few things from there. And I just want to say, Beth, thank you for the service that you provide to the O-Scale community. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Thanks, Walter. Anybody else got anything? If not, we can always hang it up for the day. I appreciate everybody's time. Somebody got something?
Hey, David, this is Joe Conjemi with the Railroad Model Club of Atlanta. Just want to remind everybody about our annual Oastdale South show next month, February 21st, the Roswell, Alpharetta area. So that's going to be north of Atlanta. So I know Dan's on here.
Joe, you must have signed on a little late. That was the number one reminder for everybody at the top of the program. Thank you. I appreciate that. And
you're welcome.
And we can use a little bit of emphasis on it. That's a very well run show. It's in Roswell, Georgia, which is in the Atlanta area. It's on February 21, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And I guess the other announcement about it is we will be having layout tours again. We're still trying to put them together. So that information would be available at the show. So, if you come to the show, make sure you get a flyer for layout tours. So we've got some really spectacular standard gauge and narrow gauge railroads in our area.
Outstanding. Thank you for emphasizing the upcoming show and the different ways that people can participate. It's a good show. I've been there a couple of times, and I'm planning on going again this year.
Perfect. And did have one question for Beth. Beth, when are the E6s due from Atlas?
This is the answer is I don't know, and I just I'll probably put this up on our website. A lot of things we don't know until they're 2 weeks out. Atlas used to be good and tell us when things were on the water, and generally Atlas doesn't even know when. There seems to be there's some kind of ether somewhere between here and China that the messages never seem to get back and forth correctly. And so there's a lot of times they don't even know what's coming up next. And sometimes they say, this is what's coming, and something else shows up. Recently, they have not given me more than 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks notice on anything showing up. And I keep trying to tell them we need more notice. It'll really help. MTH is even worse. MTH, maybe I get 1 week notice on them. Lionel, maybe I get 2 weeks notice. So I wish I had more. And anything that they have published about when something's coming out, you can forget that. That's science fiction.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I want to emphasize my need for some help putting together an index of the 38 programs that we have on here. So some of you regulars in particular, I would much appreciate you stepping forward and working with me. Thank you. Anything else? We're gonna hang it up. Appreciate your time. We can get back to the playoffs. I want to give special thanks to Beth. Delightful and very informative interview. So that's really terrific. Thanks a lot.
Dave, before you leave, send me an email about what you want to do with the index. I may be able to help you.
Thank you. I will do that. Thank you, Andrew. All right. We're out of here. See you next month, I hope. February 22nd. Bye-bye.